When people can watch an Instagram video and in 2.5 minutes learn something, that's when it took off.
Meet Ron White, two-time U.S. memory champion, a man who turned the limits of the human brain into a world record performance. He memorized a full deck of shuffled cards in just 1 minute.
And here's the reason I asked you someone you love. The more action and the more emotion involved in the picture, the more likely you are to remember it. I gave my mom's eulogy this way. I wrote out the 15 stories I wanted to tell about my mom's life. I imagined them on 15 pieces of furniture when I'm giving her eulogy. Because it's whatever you want to remember, turn it into a picture, because your mind remembers pictures. And you do that, you will be astounded at how fast and efficiently you can. But here's the key to memory. There's 5 steps that I teach. You can focus your brain with you.
Welcome to the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast, where we bring you the world's top entrepreneurs, thinkers, and performance experts so you can master your mind, grow your wealth, and build the life you deserve. I'm your host, Daniel Wood, and today's guest is one I am super excited about. He's a 2-time U.S. memory champion, a record holder, and one of the most in-demand mental performance coaches on the planet, Ron White. Ron has trained everyone from CEOs to Navy SEALs on how to unlock the full potential of their memory. And today, he's going to teach you how to learn faster, think sharper, and remember everything that you choose to remember. We believe in giving first and connecting you with the top speakers in the world. And we've prepared a really special gift for you here today. You can download your free copy of The Wealth Blueprint, a step-by-step guide to designing your financial freedom plan right now at SwedishWealthInstitute.com. Just scroll down on the page and you'll find it. It's our way of helping you take immediate action and start building wealth. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so that you never miss an episode or one of our exclusive free gifts. Now, get ready to train your brain with Ron White right here on the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast. You are the 2-time U.S. memory champion. What does this mean?
Well, it's just a nerd tournament, really, and it's a series of events. There is about 7 events, and you get a score for each event. How many names can you memorize in 15 minutes? How fast can you memorize a deck of cards? How many numbers can you memorize in 5 minutes? How many words can you memorize in 15 minutes? How many facts can you memorize about these 5 people? And then the final event is how many cards can you memorize in 5 minutes, and they give you 2 decks, so it's possible to get up to
104.
104, yeah. So it's just a series of events, and whoever has the best scores wins.
Wow. And so you've twice gone through that. How many names do you remember in that time?
My best time at the USA Memory Championships, I memorized 155 names in 15 minutes. So essentially the way they grade that is they give you a piece of paper, and it has they give you a series of papers, and on that series of papers is the photographs of 200 people, and then their names underneath the photograph, first and last. They let you study it for 15 minutes. They take away the page, and then they give you the same pictures, but they jumble them up this time because they discovered that some people weren't really attaching.
Oh, they weren't remembering the face; they were remembering the order.
That's right, which is significantly easier because there's another memory technique that you can use to do that. So it wasn't the spirit of the event. So they jumble the faces, and you write down first and last names, and you get 1 point for every correctly spelled first and last name. If the name is Jeff, or let's say Jeffrey, and you spell it Jeffrey, and it's Jefffery, no points. So it's spelling and name.
Right. Wow. And both names spelled correctly. And you did, how many did you say? 155?
155 names. So that's either I got their first name or I got their last name correct, or in some instances I got both. My strategy for that, though, is, there's 200 names. So there's 200 people. So there's a possibility of 400 points. Nobody gets 400 points. So The mistake most people make, I believe, and maybe I'm not champion, maybe I know I have something to know about this. The mistake most of the people make is they try to memorize the first and the last name for every person. I don't. I just try to memorize the first names, because you can go into the tournament having a picture for Daniel, for Steve, for Brian, for Craig, for Lisa, for Wendy. You can't go into the picture necessarily having a picture for every last name, because they're just so random, right? So I just go for all first names and then the simple, easy last names. That would be a simple one, right?
Yeah.
So that's my strategy, and it worked really well.
Wow. So which of these different 7 competitions was your best one? Like, which one were you like, I'm always going to win this one?
Back in the day when I was doing it, it was a deck of cards, but it was because that's the sexy one or whatever, right? That's the one everybody wants to hear. How fast can you memorize a deck of cards, right? Nobody ever asks you how many words can you memorize in 15 minutes? It's just not like, it doesn't sound as good. Or how many words did you memorize in that poem?
It's not as cool a party trick to just show off.
Yeah. So I trained for that more because I thought it was a cooler event, and setting the record for it was just the chair icing on the chair. I held the record for the fastest to memorize a deck of cards in the United States.
Oh, wow. How quick is that?
At the time I did it in 1 minute and 27 seconds. And back in the day when I did it, 2009, 16 years ago, that was a great time. There was nobody else doing it that fast. Well, that's why I held the record.
Right. Yeah, that would kind of make sense.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And you've gone on now with like social media and Instagram, where you're going around actually teaching memory techniques to people like on the street. You'll stop them and go, how did you come up with that idea?
Well, I wish I could take credit for it. I do. I had similar ideas on my own. It never was crystallized. You know what I'm saying? And it was just an idea. I hired a coach, and I'll say his name. I'll give the credit to him. His name is Andy Elliott, and I hired him back in March or April, I guess, and April. And part of that coaching program that I bought from him, he got on a 60-minute Zoom session with me, and he said, "Ron, tell me about your business." And so I told him about my business, and he was just listening to my business. He was listening very intently. And then after 10 minutes of talking, it was just me talking for 10 minutes. He said, "I got it." I'm like, "Okay, what do you mean you got it?" He said, "This is what you do, Ron." He said, "I want you to get a shirt, and I want you to make it consistent. Pick the color you want, pick the letters, but keep it consistent. Do it in every video. And I want you to find people on the street that you don't know, and I want you to walk up to them and say, 'Excuse me, sir.' That's going to establish that you don't know them. And then when you approach them, I want you to do a memory challenge and offer them money for the memory challenge." And he just went through, he laid it all out, and he spent about 20 minutes laying it all out. There was much more that he told me. And I said, "Thank you. You've just given me a direction to go in." And he's like, "What?" He said, "I didn't give you a direction to go in. I just gave you the entire blueprint." He said, "Ron, run this play." He said, I want you to post 35 videos, and I don't want to hear from you until you post 35 videos." And we started with, I modified it a little bit because I found some things were really working good. So I didn't do exactly his plan, but he gave me.
But you started doing it, and then from reality, you made those updates.
Exactly. What happened is he told me to go and perform memory tricks for people, right? And so we were doing that. I was doing memory tricks. Give me a list of numbers. Give me a deck of cards. Give me whatever. And they were doing good. They were doing very well. But one day, I was tired. My brain was tired. So I turned to my assistant and I said, "You know what? I'm going to teach this person how to memorize. I'm tired." And so we started filming, and it took off. And I'm like, "This is it." Yeah, people do like, so every now and then we'll sprinkle in me doing a demo, right? But what really took off is when people can watch an Instagram video and in 2.5 minutes learn something like the presidents, the part of the United States Constitution, the periodic table of elements, math hacks, math tricks. That's when it took off. When people started learning, not only the person in the video, but the viewers.
Yeah, no, I get that. I saw, because obviously once I knew we were going to do this interview, I jumped in. And it's so crazy. Like by the time this episode airs, you're going to have hundreds of thousands of more followers, like how quickly you're growing. But I really connected with one you did where you taught people how to translate Fahrenheit to Celsius. You found this couple and you just walked them through that technique, and it took them, a minute to learn the technique, and all of a sudden they could translate it. Could you walk through that technique with us here? Because I thought that was a really cool video.
Yeah. So let's say you have 90 degrees Fahrenheit, right? Here's the trick. Now this is an estimation. You're going to get within 1 to 2 degrees, right? It's not a perfect number, but you're not a scientist here trying to do something.
You're trying to explain to someone on the other side of the pond, like it's hot here or it's cold here. Just
so it's roughly within 1 to 2 degrees of this. So here's what you do. So let's say you're Celsius and you want to tell somebody in the United States that temperature. What you would do is you would multiply by 2 and add 30. So give me a temperature in Celsius that's normal.
Right. So a good day on a summer's day in Sweden, it will hit at best maybe 25 degrees.
25. So we multiply by 2. What's the number?
That gives us 50.
And then we add 30.
So we get 80.
80 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, going from Fahrenheit to Celsius is just the opposite. You have 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Instead of adding 30, you subtract 30. So now we're at 50. And instead of multiplying, you divide by 2 and you get 25.
Right. And all of a sudden now it makes sense.
Yeah. It's just multiplying by 2 and adding 30, or subtracting 30 and dividing by 2, going the opposite way. And you will always know that the Fahrenheit temperature is a larger number. So you clearly know you're going to have to subtract, right? Celsius is a smaller number, so you're going to have to add and multiply.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I love that technique just because I got family in the US and I live in Sweden. So it allows me to communicate when I'm there, and they're like, oh, it's 100 degrees out. And, my whole life it's been like, wow, that sounds hot. 100 Celsius,
right.
boiling. I mean, 100 degrees, you're probably in bad shape. And all of a sudden now I can go, wait a sec. So that's subtract 30, that's 70, divide by 2, that's 35. Yeah, that is hot.
And you say it's 35 Celsius, and I'll be like, man, you better put on a coat.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't sound like much all of a sudden. Yeah. And, that's awesome. Can you give us some more examples of like fun memory tricks that you've been able to teach people?
Trying to think of something international here. So, because in the United States, I'll teach like the presidents or the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. Here's one, and I'll just do a couple. I teach people how to memorize the first 10 elements on the periodic table of elements. So the key to memory is you will turn what you want to remember into a picture and then attach it to something that you know. Well, you know your body, right? So hydrogen, turn it into a picture, somebody waving high. So on the top of your head, you see somebody waving high for hydrogen.
Right.
Helium, think of helium balloons. You attach it to your nose. So you got helium balloons lifting up your nose. And then lithium batteries is what I imagine. So in your mouth, imagine you're chewing lithium batteries and all your teeth fall out because you're chewing these batteries. So what was on the top of our head?
That was the hydrogen. Yeah. High.
On our
That's
nose.
the helium because I'm flying away.
Right. Mouth.
And then I have my lithium batteries that I'm chewing for some reason.
There you go. And then number 4 is boron. On your ribs right here, imagine a bear is tearing your ribs apart. It's tearing your ribs. Bear for beryllium. So what's on our ribs?
Beryllium. Yeah.
And then last one, we're only going to go to 5. We'll put a board on our belly button. So you're putting a board, like a piece of wood, on your belly button. A board. What's on your belly button?
It's a board for
boron.
Boron. Okay.
There's a board on your belly button.
Right. On boron. Okay.
So
yeah.
We'll say the first 5 elements. What's 1?
That's hydrogen.
Nose.
Helium.
Mouth.
Lithium.
Ribs.
Beryllium.
And number 5.
Boron.
That's it. And then at the end, I always say, booyah, baby, you got it. That's my thing. That's my gimmick or my pattern. But so whatever you want to remember, you have to turn it into a picture and attach it to something that you already know. You know your body. Another way you could do it, and we've tried to do this, the way I primarily memorize is I don't attach it to my body, because really you can only put 10 items on your body. The way I primarily memorize is I attach what I want to remember to pieces of furniture in my house. So in my living room, I have 5 pieces of furniture numbered. In my kitchen, I have 5. In my bedroom, I have 5. This is known as the mind palace, the memory palace, or the method.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because I love the TV series Sherlock, the Sherlock Holmes series, and he has his whole mind palace. But you're doing this in your actual physical house, not a made up one in your head.
Correct. And so Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in the late 1800s wrote the Sherlock Holmes books, right? And in those books, he referred to the mind palace. And so this is a technique that's not been around just 120 or 50 years, whenever those books were written. This is a technique that dates back 2,500 years. A man named Simonides in Greece created it. I have never used a fictional mind palace. I've always used, because I don't see a reason for it. The mind palace that I use is my literal house, right? Or I'll go for a walk at the park and I'll pick 30 or 40 things outside that's a mind palace, or the baseball stadium. There are people who have created fictional mind palaces that don't exist. They've created this mansion in their brain. I don't see the need to do it, but each to their own. When people ask me a memory question, hey, Ron, can I create an imaginary mind palace? I'll say, try it. See if it works for you. I don't like the idea.
Right. What is the reason you don't like it? Why doesn't it work for you?
There's so many places that you know that exist that you've already seen. They're already in your memory. You know what I'm saying? I don't see how a fictional mind palace could possibly be as strong because you would have to spend so much time creating this mind palace and ingraining it in your memory. Now, if I was a prisoner and I had a 60-year life sentence and I had nothing else to do, maybe I would close my eyes and create a fictional mind palace. But when I'm looking for speed and efficiency, I'll just memorize the house I grew up in, or my cousin's house, or my friend's house.
Yeah, I can imagine that having a fictional mind palace gives me just now one more thing to remember. First, I got to remember what was the mind palace I created, and now I have to remember what did I put where. It kind of means I have to do it double.
You do, and one thing about the mind palace that exists, you know what that piece of furniture feels like. You know what that comforter on that bed or chair feels like. The blanket, on that bed or chair feels like. You know what that that maybe it's the kitchen, what that area of the kitchen smells like sometimes. These are already in your memory. These are things you would have to make up, and because getting really familiar with your locations is important. And how
does this work in practice? Let's say I wanted to start using my home as my memory palace. How does that work? How do I start placing stuff?
So this is what you would do. So you would look for whatever room you're in right now, look over to where the doorway is in that room. So wherever it is. Now imagine you are standing in that doorway and you're looking into the room. Okay. You're facing
literally here looking that way. Okay. Yeah.
Correct. So if you were in that position, what would be the first large piece of furniture? For example, a desk, a bed, a TV, a couch, a computer, the first larger piece of furniture to your immediate left, right there, if you were standing there.
So is it immediate left as in I turn to the left, or like the first thing I see kind of off to the left?
Yeah, not the first thing you see. Like you're standing in the doorway and you look to your immediate left. Here's the idea that we're going to do. You're going to start at your immediate left and you're going to create a circle in the clockwise way, and you're going to pick 5 items around the room, 5 large items, as if you start here and go around the room. Number 1 will be on this side of the door. Number 2 will be on that side of the door. Number 5 will be on that side of the door.
Right. So I would have my desk.
Okay, that's 1. And then what's the next one going over?
The next thing would be, the big thing would be my red light therapy machine.
Nice. And 3
would be my my studio red light.
Let's pick something different. It could be a picture of something. It could be a chair.
Let's see. Let's take the drapes, the big drapes we have, because we're in a studio here.
Drapes is 3. We need 2 more.
All right. So now I'm basically facing forward. So next here could be, we have like a studio wall, so it's got this kind of the special insulation on it.
Right.
And then the final five would be right when I come in would be my big soft light that comes up.
Great. Now say all five of those.
All right. So it's desk, red light therapy, drapes, the studio insulation, and the soft light.
Nice. So this is the first five in your mind palace, right? So what I would recommend after you do this, maybe later today or whenever you want to do it, continue this throughout your house. Go to each room and pick 5 pieces of furniture, at least 4 or 5 rooms. Give yourself at least 20, 25 pieces of furniture. And then when you going to sleep, instead of counting sheep or just trying to, count your files, say 1 is this, 2 is this, 3 is this, and then we'll get all the way up to 25 or 20, wherever you stop, and then say them backwards, forwards and backwards until you know them cold. Perfect. Then when you have something you want to remember, turn it into a picture and let's visualize it on this. And let's do this together. I'm going to give you 5 items to memorize and let's practice this. So what's number 1?
So that's the desk.
So on the desk, I want you to imagine the word itching, like you've got some sort of rash or whatever. You're itching.
Okay.
So now, not only do you have to see the word itching, you have to attach it with action and emotion. What story could you tell yourself that's going on the desk related to itching?
Itching on the desk. Could it be maybe like poison ivy?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Great minds think alike. So see, you're walking through poison ivy on the desk, and you just start itching, right? And you're itching all over, and you're like, you feel the burning, feel the leaves of the poison ivy. The more senses you involve in it, the more likely you will memorize it. If I had said to you, I want you to imagine the word itching on the desk, and you said, okay, itching on the desk, got it. What's the next one? No. That's the biggest mistake most people make, even out on the street. When I'm stopping them, they say, okay, itching on the top of my head. Got it. Number 2. I'm like, no, take the time. Now, if you have done this a while and you've practiced this for 2 or 3 weeks, you can get really fast and you can say, okay, itching. Got it.
Yeah. Because I instantly can think of a good picture that I know I'll attach to.
Exactly. Now, what's your number 2 location?
All right. So that's my red light therapy machine.
We're going to need to attach a knee, like a knee on your leg, to the red light. How would you do that with action, and what story could you tell?
All right. So I mean, it is literally a red light therapy. So I could think about my knee getting recovery under the red light therapy machine.
I think that's perfect. Now let's add just a little bit of action to it. You're getting therapy, and then for whatever reason, you get upset and you knee the red light and it breaks. Okay?
Yeah. All right.
That's perfect. What's number 3?
So those are the drapes.
On the drapes, I want you to imagine you're sawing with a saw. You're sawing those drapes in half. So you're cutting them in half.
Yeah, actively sawing the drapes. Okay.
So what was 1, 2, and 3?
So it was a itching on the desk. It was banging my knee on the red light therapy machine, and it was sawing the drapes.
I want you to see a female, a girl, a woman on what's your next piece of furniture?
So that is the insulation, studio insulation.
Tell me a woman in your life that you love.
My mother.
Your mother. Me too. The biggest loss of my life was losing my mother. Is your mom still alive?
Yes, luckily, yeah.
What does she like to do?
Well, she's just retired, so she's kind of figuring that out right now. But she loves spending time with her grandkids, with my sons.
Nice. So your grandmother is over there, and she's surrounded by your sons, and they're playing. They're doing whatever. They're laughing. They're giggling. She's hugging them. That's the action, and you see that on number 4. And here's the reason I asked you someone you love. The more action and the more emotion involved in the picture, the more likely you are to remember it. You're not very likely to forget your mom. Right?
Yeah. No, hopefully not. This will be really embarrassing if we come back and I forget that one now. My mom.
That? I don't remember, Mom. Yeah. Number 5. What's the last piece of furniture?
So that's the soft, the soft light.
The soft light. In Europe, it's red, yellow, green at a traffic light, right?
Yes.
And when it's green, you go, right?
Yep.
So I want you to see a traffic light, and it changes from red, yellow to green on your number 5, and as soon as it turns green, your car goes. So that's can you verbalize that for me?
Yeah. All right. I kind of see. All right. So I'm seeing myself. I'm seeing basically a car at a stop sign or at a stoplight, and it turns to green, and the car drives off.
Great. Now say all 5 of those,
All
please.
right. So I'm itching on the desk. I'm banging my knee on the red light therapy machine. I'm cutting the drapes. My mom and kids are on the insulation, and I'm driving away at in a car on the stoplights when it hits green.
Very nice. Very nice. So, and we could have done this quicker, but for the benefit of your audience, I wanted to go slow so they understand the nuances. How do you pick the furniture? Okay. And I wanted us to talk through the action and emotion. Typically, if when you're doing this in practice, you could have memorized those 5 very rapidly. But for the benefit of you and your audience,
of course, it's a practice too. Like this is the first time I'm ever visualizing this way, so it's going to be a little slower. But
it is, yeah.
I can imagine though that, again, as you said, if I had just gone, all right, wait, I got to remember itching, I got to remember a banged up knee and cutting, and trying to do it like I would normally do, try to kind of keep it on my fingers and just go, all right, it's 5 things, let me go through them. I wouldn't have a chance. And now I could go through the 5 again, and it's retained at a higher level.
And the reason I slowed it down is I wanted to explain to your audience is the more action, the more emotion. So that you verbalizing it and us walking through the action and emotion is going to give you a blueprint now. When you go forwards, how do you do action and emotion? Now, on the streets, I will teach people this. And what this is this is counting in Japanese. Itching, ichi, ni, san, san.
Right. Yeah.
A woman, she. 5, a green light, go. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go. So whatever you want to remember, turn it into a picture, because your mind remembers pictures, and place it on your locations. You do that, you will be astounded at how fast and efficiently you can memorize. And here's the deal. This is not just a party trick. Think about a speaker who wants to stand up on a stage and he doesn't want to read his PowerPoint, or he doesn't want to read his notes. He wants to speak confidently and charismatically. Do you ever see Tony Robbins up there clicking his PowerPoint? Now, I'm not saying you can't have a PowerPoint and he may have a PowerPoint, right? But Tony Robbins isn't reading it, right? He's charismatic. He's dynamic. He's talking to the audience. So here's the point I'm getting at. You can still have a PowerPoint as an aid in the selling, but no longer.
Well, it's for the audience. It's just not for me.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. 100%. But we've all seen the speakers who it's for them too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's their notes. Yeah, right. So here's what you do. You map out 10 or 15 pieces of furniture in your house, and instead of having your notes, you take the bullet points and you imagine it on each piece of furniture. I want to talk about how to make more money today. Boom, money on the couch. I want to talk about time management, a clock on the next piece of furniture. I want to talk about being a good communicator. See a phone over there. Then you get up on your stage and you visualize your house and you talk about point number 1. I want to talk about make more money. I want to talk about being a good time manager because you see the clock. You could I gave my mom's eulogy this way. I wrote out the 15 stories I wanted to tell about my mom's life. I imagined them on 15 pieces of furniture when I'm giving her eulogy. And you can see I'm getting passionate here about this, but it's because it's the benefits of memory that gets me so revved up. So I put 15 stories on 15 pieces of furniture. Then I gave my mom's eulogy by thinking about my house. I didn't want to miss a point, but I also didn't want to read my mom's life when I lived it. So it's very effective for so many things, giving speeches without notes and so many other things. Counting in Japanese.
How does this work over time? I'm thinking there you taught me to count to 5 in Japanese, but let's say if I wanted to learn a new language, I'm going to need a lot more than the 20 locations I have in my house. And if I'm going to learn the whole language, that's going to be a million locations. When does this start getting too much? Like, how do I handle this for learning new stuff over time?
Yeah. So you are going to need more locations, and depending on the quantity of information you want to memorize. But let's say you number 40 or 50 pieces of furniture in your house, 40 or 50 pieces of furniture in let's just say you do 25 in your friend's house, 25 in your friend's house, 25 at your favorite restaurant, 25 at your childhood home. Just think back to it. You can remember more than you think you can. 25 locations at your favorite park, 25 locations at your work or your school. So now you got 100, 150 locations. That's going to be enough for most people. Most people aren't trying to memorize 7,000 words in sequence like the memory guy did. Okay. Yeah, right. So if you get up to 100, you're gonna be golden, because here's the thing: you can reuse these locations as long as the subject matter is different. One day you use those locations to memorize the periodic table, cool, and you memorize them. 2 or 3 weeks later, you use those same locations for Japanese, no problem. You're not going to confuse the data. You're not going to think ichi is the number one element on the periodic table. You're going to know it's helium, right? However, if the subject matters are similar, I would never reuse it. If you used these 5 pieces of furniture for Japanese and you want to learn Arabic tomorrow, don't use those same pieces of furniture for 1 through 5.
Yeah, because it's a language and a language. Yeah. Say I wanted to learn to count to 10 in Japanese, and I do that in here. And then I wanted to learn the periodic table because for some reason I'm now going to learn Japanese and the periodic system. And I want to use these same locations. Does this hurt my long-term retention of the other, or how does this interplay interact?
As long as the subject matters are different, you can reuse them, right? And by the way, you can't overlap. So if you did 1 through 5 in Japanese in that room and you wanted 6 through 10, you couldn't go start over and overlap them. That falls in the category of same topic. You would have to go to the next room. But here's the key to memory. There's 5 steps that I teach. Focus, you got to be focused. You got to be paying attention. You can focus your brain with good nutrition and exercise. And Brian Tracy says in his book, Focal Point, you can focus your brain through well-worded questions. So before you meet somebody, as you're walking up to them, ask yourself, what's their name? That's going to focus your brain to focus when they say their name. When you read a book, read the back cover, read the table of contents, read the chapter summary, and then ask yourself, what do I want to learn from this book? So questions focus your brain. First key to memory is focus. And I'm getting to answer your question, but
but this is brilliant. Keep going. Yeah.
I like build up to it. So good nutrition and exercise, well-worded questions, according to Brian Tracy. But the second thing that's going to help your focus is good nutrition and exercise. You've probably seen me guzzling water this whole interview. I drink, I don't know what it is. I need to do a liters to ounces conversion.
Yeah, well, I mean, based on, similar size, we're drinking 3 to 3.5 liters per day.
That's it. So that's exactly it. See, that was in my memory. I had actually studied that about 6 months ago. Good nutrition, exercise, and well-worded questions. The second thing that you need to memorize anything is a location, and that's what you just did with your furniture. The third thing is a picture, which is what we just did with the Japanese. We turned it into a picture. The fourth thing is action. That's what we just did. We created action. And now here's the last one, this one I hadn't talked about yet. You must review to put it in your long-term memory. So if you don't review the Japanese tomorrow and in 2 days and in a week and then in a month, it's not going to be in your long-term memory. So if you review and you get it in your long-term memory, eventually you're going to get to the point where you just know Japanese and you don't even have to think about the locations, right? Which that's the point you want to get to.
Yeah.
It's like when a construction worker builds a concrete, they'll lay the wooden forms down, they'll pour the concrete in, and then over time the concrete hardens and they take the forms away. Your pieces of furniture are the forms. You pour Japanese in, you review it, you review it, you review it, you review it. Eventually you don't need your forms anymore, and then you start using your forms for something else.
Right. So and is that when I wait? Do I wait till then before reusing, or can I reuse?
If the subject matter is different, I wouldn't. So I guess I'm getting what I was trying to get to, and I got to it in a roundabout way. As long as you're reviewing them, I think you should be able to have both in your memory at the same time if their subject matters are different, and you could still use the same furniture.
And so how do we go about, do you have like a process of reviewing that you go through? How do you do that to get it into the long-term memory?
I don't have a structured way unless it's a specific project I'm working on. I just recommend people think about it the next day. They think about it a couple days later. With names, what I recommend is maybe you get a journal, and when you meet somebody, write down their name and then write down the picture that you have for their name. Daniel, I think of in the Bible, I think of a lion's den, right? So when I see you, I would think of a lion. So I would, when I got back home
with the lion.
There you go. It actually does. It actually does. It actually does. And I would incorporate that. But when I got home, I would write Daniel, and you always pick out a distinctive feature. You always choose a distinctive feature because that's where you're going to center the action. I would write hair, Daniel, hair, lion, and then I might write a few more details. Told me about his mom, told me about his sons, has a podcast and a world-class summit. I'd write some more details there, so that makes it stronger, right? And then you get this list of names, and maybe once a month, just go through that names book and review. But when you review, just don't read it. Take time to close your eyes or just look away and visualize that person again with the lion's
so you get that focus, as you were talking about, as the first step.
Correct.
Very cool. All right. And so when I'm just thinking now, if I was going to use the word palace, at what point do I kind of trust that this is now in my long-term memory and feel like I can take this off of the furniture?
Well, you're never going to I don't believe you're going to have to go through a conscious process of visualizing yourself taking it off the furniture. I think eventually you'll just know. But you said something very important in that question. And it was one of the greatest pieces of advice I have had. I've been doing this 34 years. It's one of the greatest pieces of advice I've had in 34 years of memory. In 2009, I was training for the USA Memory Championship, and I wanted to set the record for the fastest to memorize a deck of cards. If I got a minute 30, I would do it. The guy who held the world record at the time was doing it in 24 seconds. And Ben Pridmore. And I emailed Ben, and I said, Ben, I got a question for you. What's your best secret to memorizing a deck of cards? I can't seem to break 2 minutes right now. And I said, don't worry, I'm not breaking your record. I'm trying to break a USA record. Tell me your secret. It's safe with me. I'm not going to break a world record. And he said, here's my best secret. Trust your memory. And that was a word you used just now. Trust your memory. And what he meant is when people are memorizing a deck of cards, they linger too long on each card and they really focus because they're not trusting their memory that their mind has got it. He said, just keep going. Just trust your memory that it got it. When you set down the cards, close your eyes and immediately start reviewing. And you are going to be amazed at how much that you memorize. And here's the thing. What I didn't realize at the time is I don't have, if I want to get a deck of cards perfect, I don't have to memorize it perfect. That's the most absurd thing to say, but here's what I'm trying to say. When I'm reassembling the second deck, you know what I'm saying? You set that deck down and you reassemble a second deck to match the order of the first deck. When you reassemble it and then you end up with 4 cards in your hand, now you know the ones that you missed, and the story and the cards is going to lead you to the answer. You know what I'm saying? Because it will trigger it. Oh yeah, that goes there. Oh yeah, that goes there. So you don't have to get it perfect, and trust your memory.
Right, because you're actually seeing the cards again and you're working with them.
Exactly. Now, if you had just were looking at these 4 cards with the absence of the other 48, you'd be in trouble. But in context, it's not that difficult to figure out.
Right. So okay, well that makes sense too when you're doing it. So it's not that you read through a deck of cards, they put it, and then you're literally saying it and they're, taking a card at a time off of a deck. You actually get to reassemble the deck.
You reassemble the deck, and then the 2 decks are side by side and they flip them over to see if they match.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So I'm still thinking about how do we use this in practice, like in everyday life, without seeming like a crazy person. Because I can, especially as you're learning this, if I'm, coming up to people and, they share something like a memory technique or, like in this conversation, I'm learning a lot. I don't want to have to go and stop and go, wait, just give me a sec. I have to go to my memory palace now, and I'm going to put this on the chair, and it's going to be a little Yoda figure because it was a yoga technique. All right, good. I'm done. Let's keep going our conversation. Like, I'm going to seem like a crazy person if I keep having to stop and do this. How do I make do this naturally?
Very good point. Very good question. Here's what I tell people. they say, Ron, I met I'm trying to meet people and I'm trying to struggle to create pictures for their names or use your techniques to remember what they said. And I'm doing just that. I'm zoning out. And the people are like, hey, are you listening to me? And then you're like, no, I'm not listening to you. I'm trying to create a picture for the name Daniel and trying to figure out how to store it in your hair, and what I say to people is if you find yourself in that moment, stop the memory techniques immediately and just listen to them. Just listen, just focus. Then when you leave them, you're sitting in your car, visualize them again, visualize the memory techniques and try to memorize what you want to from that conversation. Over time, when you get more proficient at this and you've put in the training, you will be able to do it at the same time when you're with that person. But if you're ever in a conversation with somebody and you find yourself not being able to focus because you're doing memory techniques, stop the memory techniques and just listen. That's my best advice on that.
Yeah, that's a good point, because in the end, I mean, I haven't used these memory techniques in the past, and I tend to remember at least most important points out of a conversation.
Yeah, and if you want to remember long term, of course you could write them in a journal. You could do that, but what I do, like let's say I'm driving in my truck and you and I are on a phone call, and you say, Ron, I want you to get Brian Tracy's book, Focal Point. Boom. I immediately imagine a microscope focusing on the front end of my truck. And then you say, Ron, I want you to listen to Les Brown's podcast. On my engine. So the front of my truck is the number one, the bumper.
Is the focal point, yeah.
Yeah, and my number two spot is the engine. My number three spot is the windshield. My number four spot is the steering wheel. So I'm driving, we're talking. Ron, get Brian Tracy's book, Focal Point. Boom, microscope focusing on my bumper. Ron, listen to Les Brown's podcast, episode number 10, whatever. I would see a less than sign, greater than less than, and it's marked, scratched into my hood there. And you say episode 10, I imagine a bowling ball rolling across that because there's 10 pins in bowling, right? So I would use my car to memorize our conversation as we're driving, at least the key points.
Yeah. Right. So you'd basically put them there, and then later, if it's like, okay, I really need to retain these things, then you might go and put them in your memory palace. But likely once you've stopped the car, you just write them onto your to-do list and say, all right, great, get the book, get the podcast, get this, get that.
Yeah. And so it saves lives. Don't write while driving. Right?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a good point too. So if your significant other calls with a grocery list, you just place those groceries out on the car.
That's right.
All right. So we end every episode with a rapid fire round. So the team has prepared some really tough questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. So first question, and just, answer whatever comes to mind. What's the worst advice you've ever had about learning?
The worst advice I've ever had about learning is just use rote memorization. Rote memorization is where you just read something over and over and over and over and over and over again. It'll drive you crazy. It's incredibly inefficient.
Good advice. All right. So what's one unpopular opinion that you have about intelligence?
Memory does not equal IQ. Memory ability does not equal IQ. IQ doesn't equal memory ability. I think a lot of people misconstrue that. They see somebody memorizing a bunch of stuff really fast and they assume they have an IQ, and they could just be an idiot like me.
Well, and to be fair, yeah, someone being able to sprout facts does come across as very intelligent.
Yeah.
But that's a different type of intelligence.
Yeah. And there's people who have super genius IQs that don't know a memory system, right? Or something like that. So yeah, that's a misconception, I think.
What's a quote or a mantra that you use to keep yourself focused?
Without question, Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. I don't have control over that person, whether if they're going to like me or not. I don't have control of so many things in life, but I have power over my mind, not outside events.
Nice. Marcus Aurelius is our most quoted, person when we ask this question.
He's been brought back to popular mainstream in the last decade. And so such wisdom. And when you read his story, it's incredible.
Yeah. So what is something your friends or people who know you well tease you about forgetting?
Everything. I spent 20 minutes this morning looking for my keys. Yesterday, before I was going to record my memory videos with my assistant, I spent 35 minutes looking for my shirt. And I'm not a man with a huge wardrobe, all right? And this house that I'm in right now, I only use 1, 2, 3, 4 of the rooms. I don't even go into the other rooms. And so I'm like, how in the world have I lost this shirt? And I look at so they just tease me about like forgetting things because my natural memory is not that good. So, hey, Ron, where are your keys? I don't know. You know? Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story.
It reinforces your lesson, though. If you don't have your 5 steps, your focus and your pictures, and then it doesn't land.
That's right. Exactly.
Cool. Which also says you don't have to have a naturally good memory to be the best in the United States at having a great memory.
Correct. Absolutely.
So if you had 60 seconds on live TV to teach memory, what's the first thing you'd say?
Your memory is better than you think it is. Quit your negative self-talk about memory. And then I would dive into the mind palace, whether it's your body as a mind palace or a room as a mind palace. If I had 60 seconds, I would probably go to the body because everybody can see me right then. I can say, on top of your head, imagine this. On top of your head, boom, 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 boom. And that's what I would teach.
So what is next for you in the next 12 months that you're really looking forward to? One really cool thing.
I'm looking forward to growing my Instagram channel. I am looking forward to that. As far as memory goes, I memorized the United States Constitution at one point, word for word. I'm looking forward to getting that back in my memory.
I just had to look just for your Instagram channel. During this interview, you've increased your amount of followers by, from what I can see, 5,000 people.
What?
So
that's right.
I think you're doing all right there, and it's absolutely amazing. So for all of you guys listening to it, I'm following Ron, and I love every time one of his videos comes up in my feed. They're absolutely amazing.
At Brain Athlete.
Yep. And we'll add a link to that, of course, in the show notes. As you know, we love spoiling our listeners, and I know they know this, so they've been waiting to hear how we're going to spoil them today. So we asked you to prepare something really cool to give them.
Yeah, and this is really cool, and this is not just a random website that I send everybody to. You know very well that I went into my GoDaddy account and selected a domain that I'm going to use for this. So this is a special gift that I've not offered before, a special gift for your audience. And if you go to, say, the website.
Yeah, go for it. And then we'll add it in the show notes as well.
Yeah, memoryiseasy.com. If you go to memoryiseasy.com, I have a very special gift prepared for you guys. I've turned 1,600 names into a picture. So Steve's a stove, Lisa's the Mona Lisa, Karen is a carrot, Brian is a brain. 1,600. It took me about a year or two to create this list. You can get it in the next 10 seconds. But I'm going to add some more bonuses in there and some more free gifts, maybe a little mini instructional on the Mind Palace. So this is stuff that I would normally sell, but because of you guys, memoryiseasy.com, free gift.
Oh, I appreciate that, Ron. And guys, make sure you go claim that. We got the link down in the show notes if you didn't get it off of memoryiseasy.com, which feels like a reasonably easy domain for us to remember after all this practice. So thank you, Ron, so much for joining us today, and I look forward to having you on the show again in the future.
Absolutely. You're wonderful questions. You're a wonderful interviewer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode with Ron White. I learned so much. I hope you did as well. If you got a lot of value from this episode, please make sure you follow and subscribe so you never miss another breakthrough like this one. And make sure to share the episode with friends who you think could get value out of it as well. And remember, at the Swedish Wealth Institute, our mission is to connect you with the right mentor at the right time. So as a thank you for being a part of our community here at the podcast, I want to give you a free ticket to our upcoming Your Path to Financial Freedom Summit. This is a 4-day live virtual event featuring Robert Kiyosaki, Brian Tracy, Les Brown, Nick Vujicic, Jack Canfield, and many more world-class mentors. You'll learn exactly how to build multiple income streams, grow your wealth, and create lasting freedom. By going to swedishwealthinstitute.com/events, you can see which are the upcoming dates, both in the European time zone, the Asia Pacific time zone, and North America. So go and claim your free ticket right now. And please make sure you join us next week, because we're sitting down with Troy Harris, one of the world's leading experts on cryptocurrencies and blockchain investing. Troy is going to reveal how everyday investors can leverage digital assets safely and strategically to build long-term wealth. So please hit subscribe, share this episode with a friend that is ready to level up, and I'll see you at the Financial Freedom Summit. I'm Daniel Wood, and this is the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast, where your path to freedom begins.
You're the product of basically the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Troy Harris is an AI and blockchain educator and author of Crypto New Rich. Known for practical strategies regular people can apply, he'll simplify the noise and show you what to watch.
So many times, parents think that what kids want is like to be showered in gifts. They don't. They just want you. We've gone from a fraction of a cent in 2009 to currently, as we're speaking, being worth over $120,000 just 16 years after its creation. That's not some kind of act of God. That's not some kind of coincidence or, oh, that's just lucky. No. In 2018, Bitcoin corrected all the way to $3,000. Ethereum corrected to $100. We literally sold our house. Every coin was going up. We're talking turning, I originally put in about $25,000, turn that into multiple 7 figures, right? Literally in the space of 18 months. And then